This is Andi Purewal for Boxing Social in association with Betfred, and for the first time in person, I'm delighted to be joined by Carl Greaves. Carl, firstly, how are you?
I'm good, Andy, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good. I was very close then to saying joined by you over Zoom for a second. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's nice to get to you face to face, mate.
100% it is indeed. Carl, let's just start off with the main reason we're here in Manchester before we come on to other topics. Khan-Brook tomorrow night, a fight which has had a decade-long rivalry, one which everybody's looking forward to. What's been your thoughts as the weeks progressed?
Yeah, I've been changing my mind backwards and forwards. Still a little bit undecided. It's one of them fights which is so hard to pick a winner. Like you say, if you had 100 people in the room, it would be divided, because that's how people's thinking about the fight. We just don't know which way it's going to go. We're all keep changing their mind, but I just feel that I think the longer the fight goes, the more it's going to suit Khan. The reason I think that is because obviously Brook's the bigger man, is the stronger man, and I think if Khan can take his power early on, then it could play into his hands and he could survive the onslaught and end up either stopping Brook late or beating him on points, because early doors Brook's going to be very strong and powerful. He's a big strong man. I mean, obviously there was rumours he's tight at the weight and he's going to struggle. Might be the fact, but he did look good on the scales. He looked very healthy, he looked ripped. He looks bang up for it. I mean, there's a lot of animosity there. It's one of them fights where they truly don't like each other. And it's a very interesting fight, and it's a brilliant fight, and finally we've got it on. I mean, better late than ever, as they say.
What did you make of them both on the scales earlier, Carl? Because yesterday, Carl seemed to be, now we can say, it just seemed like he was joking about potentially coming in slightly over and paying whatever the fine would have been. But what did you make of the pair of them on the scales today?
I mean, first of all, massive props to them both, because they both look fantastic. Both ripped to shreds, in great condition, and you can tell they both put the work in for this fight, and that's how much it means to them. It's hard going off how they look on the scales, because they both look brilliant. You can't really say one had the advantage over the other. I suppose it's been easier for Khan. I think he's made a statement by coming in a pound lighter than obviously Brook, and obviously he's made a statement that he can make welterweight still quite easy. Is that the case? I don't know, but they've put the work in and they both deserve this night, because it's going to be a hell of a night, and what a show. I mean, what is it, sold out? It's sold out in 15 minutes, and finally we've got it on, and can't wait.
Who do you think a defeat would be more? No, who do you think would be more hurt by a defeat tomorrow night? Amir Khan or Khan-Brook?
I think whoever gets beat, it's going to hurt them bad. That's how much it means to them. They truly don't like each other, and that's why they're going to give it everything they've got. I mean, listen, they're at the end of the career, let's be honest. They're 35 years old. I don't think they're going to have many fights left, if any at all, after this. So whoever gets beat, it's going to hurt bad, but you've got to have a winner, and there's always a winner and a loser in boxing. I mean, obviously you can have a draw, but yeah, so listen, it's going to work to whoever gets beat, let's be honest. That's why they're going to give it everything they've got.
You've got your charge, David Avedissian, here as well. I'm sure he'll be keeping a close eye on things tomorrow night. Would you be open to facing the winner now? I understand that it's a big fight, it's a big name regardless, but heading into, if David was to face one of them, he would be a favourite, because he's the active fighter, he's looking at world level fights now, whereas for Amir and Carl, people look at it as to how much do they have left, and is it a fight which still appeals to David?
Listen, David would take that fight, of course he would. I mean, let's be honest, so David's at the peak of his career now. He's flying high, he's probably at the best he's ever been at the minute, and probably getting better, still getting better, which is scary, whereas Khan and Brook are at the twilight of the career now. Would they want to go in with David? I don't think so, let's be honest. But listen, the fight's there if they want it. It'll still be a massive fight. I mean, Khan-Brook and David have done many rounds together. It's been fantastic sparring over the years, and I've been there for the majority of it. He's never sparred with Khan, but David fancies Brook in this fight. It just feels like he's going to be too strong and powerful for him. which will be the case early doors, but I think the longer it goes, it's going to suit Khan, in my opinion, because if he can take Brook's power early doors, then he's got a chance.
Carl, on David, obviously his next fight's been announced now, Askari Metz. Where did Askari Metz come from?
Well, I mean, David's number 2 in the world with the WBC. His next fight's going to be a final eliminator for a world title. We're just waiting on the WBC to order somebody, whether it's going to be Keith Thurman, who's now been putting at number 3, or Boot Ennis, who's probably number 4, but he's gone the IBF route. You've got Ortiz has gone the WBO route, who was meant to fight David, let's be right, that was put out there. He chose to go a different route, so we're not avoiding anybody. David will fight absolutely anybody who's put in front of him. Metz has come up because it's a European title defence, he's 15-0, and I think he's one of the only few that's been offered that's up for it, let's be honest, so he fancies the job. I mean, we don't know what he's got. I mean, on paper it should be a routine defence, but you never know in boxing. He's 15-0, he's unbeaten, he's going to be hungry, you don't know what it's like to taste defeat, so he's going to come and give it everything he's got. This is his world title fight. David's got to be on his game, he can't underestimate him, but on paper he's a level above, probably 2 levels above, but he's got to keep active. What do people want to do? Leave David on the shelf and not fight? He's got to keep busy until the WBC order someone for him to fight a final eliminator, so that's the situation we're in.
Carl, when this fight was announced, I know yourself and Eddie Hearn, Eddie Hearn had a few choice words for it. He wasn't necessarily a fan of the fight, shall I say, and obviously you replied to it over social media. What were your thoughts on Eddie's comments in interviews about Avanesian versus Askari Metz?
I just think it's bang out of order. At the end of the day, he knows that David's got to keep busy, and he knows how hard it is to match David. So that's the situation. I mean, it's all right him pulling Metz down and saying I'd get slaughtered if I made that fight. He maybe would, but if you're that confident and don't rate the fight, give Conor the opportunity to fight David. No, you don't want the fight, let's be honest. You don't want Conor to fight David. You know how high risk it is, you know what I mean? It's a tough job for whoever boxes David. But fair play to this mess, he's got the balls to come in there with David and have a fight, which not many have, so you can't knock it. I mean, but like I say, David's got to keep busy, got to keep active, and this is the perfect fight in my opinion.
In Conor's case, for still looking to sort out an opponent, it seemed like Maurice Hooker was due to be announced, well, not necessarily announced, but it was due to be agreed, but he had to pull out through an injury. So away from him, Chris Van Heerden seems to be the front runner now. What are your thoughts if that one was to go ahead in Conor's case?
Well, you can see the route they're taking, aren't you? They're taking Conor. Obviously, they're trying to get names that's been decent in the past, but on the way down. So that's the route they're taking. They're taking Conor. Listen, it's up to them what route they want to do. I mean, they obviously don't want a young, hungry, up-and-coming fighter still, and they don't want someone who's at the peak of their career. So they're just, I mean, listen, Conor's a big draw, he's a big name, and they want to protect him as much as they can, but there's going to be a time when you're going to have to fight these sort of guys, and maybe having them sort of step-up fights, they're not the right step-up fights, you know what I mean? You've got to be fighting better opposition to get ready for the big names and the elite names in the division, and at the moment, I think all these veterans who's like in the mid-30s, in the twilight of their career, it's going to look good as a name on your record, but not giving you the workout and the rounds you need to be prepared for the next step.
Do you believe at some point we will see Ben Avanesian, or from how obviously we're back and forth with the comments and seeing the route that Conor's going to go, route David's currently going, they just won't cross paths?
Listen, never say never in boxing. I mean, people saying now, obviously David's with Warren, the fight's gone further apart, drifted further away. That's not the case. I know Neil Marsh, when he signed David to Warren, did say to Frank, look, if we could ever make that fight, let's make it. Don't let the rival promotions put it off. Let's make that fight if we can. And that's why Frank went out there and offered him the fight, because he wants to make it himself. So you never say never in boxing. The thing about all this is, the worst thing about it is, David's never really wanted the fight, because he just feels like he's a level above Conor, and it's a backward step. I mean, all right, people say backward step, you're fighting Metz. Well, you're fighting Metz because it's a routine European title defence and no one else will box him. But in the fact that to fight Conor, really, he'd probably fight him if it was a world title fight. Maybe the same in Conor's situation. But that's all it's ever been for David. I mean, he's been a bit annoyed really, the comments going around and that he just after the payday, he just after the money. Not the case at all. David's on a good contract, he's on good money, and he's getting paid very, very well for a European champion. And his next step wants to be for a final eliminator for a world title or a world title fight, whatever that may be. David will fight. David will fight absolutely anybody put in front of him. There's no doubt about that. And you can look back through his record, and he's done that throughout his career.
Just final one, Carl. On Conor once again. After Chris Eubank Jr.'s fight and victory against Liam Williams, there's some talks coming out, some rumours, reports that might well happen. Eubank Jr., Conor Benn, reigniting that family rivalry. What did you make of those comments when you saw that? And I spoke to Conor a few days after the fight, and he said that they'd actually had a few conversations with Junior's team.
Listen, it's a massive fight, isn't it? Let's be honest. Ben Eubank all over again. The sons. I mean, listen, it's a great story and a great opportunity for them out there. You know what I mean? It would be massive, but there are a couple of weight divisions apart. I know for a fact that Eubank won't come down to 154. So if Conor's ever prepared to step up to 160, then maybe it'll happen. But until then, it won't happen because there's too far a gap in the weights. You know what I mean? But if it ever did, it'd be amazing, wouldn't it?
Right, Carl, we'll leave it there now. I'll leave you to enjoy the rest of your evening and this Friday night here in Manchester. Thank you for speaking to me for the first time in person, and thanks for speaking to Sports Social.
Thanks, Andy. Top man.